I think it was a bit more than a year ago that I finished building my new open baffle speakers for my listening room in my basement. And part of that was to horn load the tweeter. And so I made a separate video showing that and doing measurements and all that. And in that video, I said this: the horn flare might make a difference, you know, if it was shaped differently, but I don't think it would be significant, especially not for something this shallow and this sized. And of course, I got some comments from people saying that the shape makes a huge difference. And that's the point of this video right here, to actually make different shapes for a horn or a waveguide and compare them directly using the same tweeter, measured from the same distance on and off axis. And I actually started it last year. All this stuff has been sitting on my computer since last year. When I pulled it out and I actually started to mill the horns, and I made those from spruce, and you can see one here. What I did was I drew them up in SketchUp using just the basic drawing tools to give me curves. I started with a curve like this, maximum. This is 5/16 inch arc. So what that winds up with is starting in here and going out here, nice and smooth, you know, round, fully rounded. There's no real transition here. And then I work my way down to flat, perfectly flat from the inside to the outside. And you do get a sharp transition here. But also you can see here that the hole on this one is bigger. Now that was kind of my, that wasn't my intention. My intention was to have even sized holes, but as it turns out, when it was machining them, even though, you know, I used the same model over and over, I just flattened the curve a little bit more. I wound up with the cutter cutting deeper on these, and then on this one. In fact, what I had to do with this one, I actually had to finish drilling it out and then round it, like finish rounding it over, so that I actually had a hole here. But anyway, so I'm going to go through it. Like I said, I did it on SketchUp. I drew the horn shape. And then the next thing that I did was I made that into individual files for the CNC and started that, cutting them out from a solid piece of spruce that I had plain flat. And this is a 2-pass operation, the rough pass and then the finishing pass. And I wound up with something that's very smooth here, nice and even. What it also left me with was a plug in the center, and here I'm taking a chisel and I'm knocking that out because I'm going to plane the backside until the hole appears, and I didn't want that plug getting jammed in the cutters and the planer. So that just left some clearance there. And with that done, I put it through the planer until I came down to the hole. And like I said, this one didn't plane all the way through, so I had to finish this one off with the drill bit first, and then use the spindle sander to smooth it out and make the hole the right size. If I were to do it over again, I would make sure the entry holes, the throat hole, is the same for all of them. Okay, that's the only difference. I think that this one being so big actually affected how it performed, as opposed to these three, which are very close in size, but these are all the ones that have curved sides. Okay, this one is completely flat. So I made these all exactly the same size, centered on the opening, and then I cut a piece of MDF, like a hole, a square hole in a piece of MDF, for these to fit neatly in, tightly in, so I wouldn't have to use glue or anything like that. I could quickly push them in and then pop them out to change them and remeasure them, and I wouldn't have to go through, you know, a lot of work. I certainly wouldn't be using a different baffle every time. So it's the same baffle, same size thing each time, fits in that same hole, and the same tweeter is used over and over again from the same distance, mounted here on my bandsaw. I measured on axis with the microphone, I don't know, almost a meter away, and then 30 degrees off axis. And the 30 degrees off axis I got from a mark that I put on the bandsaw as a guide, and I just clamped it in place then. Aside from the machining, this really didn't take a long time. I did have to drill little divots on the back of each horn so that it would clear the screws that are on the front of the tweeter. And then I can mount each one with screws on the back and then push it into the hole in the MDF baffle, get that set up on my bandsaw, measure each one on axis, and then shift it over to off axis. You can see the first one here is actually the one that has the biggest curve, and you can see the on axis response here. Then, like I said, I shifted it over to the line that I've drawn on the top of the bandsaw table and measured it again. And this is the 30 degrees off axis measurement. And then I repeated the same thing again. I took out the most curved one and I put in the next curved one. This is 3/16. That measurement actually corresponds with the slope of the curve, how, curved it is. And you can see the on-axis response here. And once again, loosened it up, changed it to 30 degrees without shifting it anywhere, and measured again to get the off-axis response. And that's what you're seeing right here. Next one was the 1/8 inch curve, and on-axis right here. And once again, shifting it over to the 30 degrees off-axis and measuring it again. And that's what you can see right here. And then finally, the flat one that has the biggest hole inside here. Like I said, if I had this to do over, I would have made the hole the same size. I think that actually made it measure worse. I think there was too much of a flat area around, like on the faceplate of the tweeter before the flare started. So I'm not relying 100% on this, but I included it anyway. So you can see on axis here has a huge dip at around 13.5, around a little over 13 kilohertz. Something like that is something that I'm not going to hear, but you can see that was a problem with this one. And then I once again measured off axis, and that actually looks better. That dip has disappeared. So then I brought the measurements in and had a closer look at them. And this plot shows all of the on-axis responses together on the same page. And you can see that it starts from 500 hertz and goes up to 25 kilohertz. You can see that from 500 right up until around 7K, they're almost identical. The one that has the most gain, like the most boost from the horn, and that's centered around 2800 hertz, is this one, the gradual curve. And this actually is almost an exact replica of the one that I used in my speakers. So this is, of all four, this seems to be the best shape, that gradual curve, okay? Where there's no transition out here on the surface and is nicely rounded, okay? Now, that also plays out in the off-axis response, which I've grouped here as well. You can see that they're all very close, but this one stands out as being the best. So what's the lesson to learn here? Well, first of all, yes, it does make a difference, but in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not going to be that audible to most serious listeners, because most serious listeners are my age and above, and they're going to have a problem hearing the kind of high frequency differences that you have with these horn shapes. So I don't consider it, like I said in the video to begin with, to be that critical a factor. In my opinion, this one is the one that works best. This is the one that I went with originally, and I don't see any advantages to using a flat one at all. So I wouldn't go there, and it doesn't take any more effort, especially if you have CNC or anything like that, to make this kind of a horn. Now, I didn't try other shapes. Like I said, there's nothing exponential here, as in, the curve doesn't start to flatten or the curve shape doesn't start to change, I very seriously doubt that that would have a major impact when there's really not much difference between this one, which I consider faulty, this flat one here with the huge hole, and this one right here below, say, 8 kilohertz.